AITA for cutting off my wife after an office joke exposed what she was hiding? I'm Cooper, 39, and by the night Lauren laughed at Derek's text, I had been her husband for 9 years. I still knew the exact brand of oat creamer she liked. I still left the porch light on when she said she was working late. I still wanted to believe there was a normal explanation for why my own house had started feeling like a place where I was only allowed to ask approved questions. I wasn't perfect in that marriage. I could get quiet when I was hurt. I could retreat into chores, bills, and the kind of politeness that looks mature from the outside but feels like a locked door from the inside. Lauren had every right to be frustrated with that. But being quiet was not the same thing as being stupid, and being imperfect was not an invitation for her to turn me into the punchline of her affair. The worst part is that Lauren was easy to love for a long time. She was funny in a way that made ordinary days feel less heavy. She could burn pancakes on a lazy Saturday and somehow make me laugh while we ate cereal over the sink instead. She had a laugh that used to make our house feel safer. We had shows we only watched together, little grocery store arguments over which chips were better, and the same dumb habit of leaving half-finished mugs of coffee on opposite ends of the kitchen. I don't want to rewrite the whole marriage as fake just because it ended ugly. There were years when I believed we were a team. There were years when I would have trusted Lauren with anything. That made the shift harder to name when it started. At first, it was one late night a month. Lauren would text, "Client thing. Don't wait up." I would put her plate in the fridge, turn off the kitchen light, and leave the porch light on because that was what I had always done. She would come in tired, kiss the side of my head if I was awake, and say, "You're the best." Then it became once a week, then twice. Then, on a few nights, she would come home with that bright, wired energy people have when they are not tired at all, but need you to believe they are. Her phone changed before her words did. She used to toss it anywhere: the couch cushion, bathroom counter, kitchen island, passenger seat. Then suddenly, it stayed face down. If she got up from dinner, it went with her. If she went to the shower, it disappeared into the bathroom. Her passcode changed, and when I noticed, she gave me a look like I had reached into her purse. "Why did you change it?" I asked one night while she stood at the sink, texting with both thumbs. She turned the screen toward her chest. "Because it's my phone." I didn't say it wasn't. "Are you really turning into that kind of husband?" I remember the exact shame that washed over me when she said that. I hated the idea of being controlling. I hated it so much that she only had to hint at it, and I would back away like I had touched a hot stove. "What kind?" I asked. "The kind who thinks privacy is cheating." That shut me up. Not because it made sense, but because it sounded close enough to a principle that I didn't want to argue with. Privacy mattered. Trust mattered. I told myself healthy husbands didn't inspect phones. I told myself suspicion could poison a marriage even if nothing was happening. Lauren learned that about me quickly. Derek's name started showing up around the same time. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious. At first, he was just a coworker in a story. Derek says the new manager talks like a TED Talk got trapped in a vending machine. Then it was Derek sent a meme. Derek had the funniest reaction during a meeting. Derek thought the client was impossible. Derek said I wouldn't get a joke. Derek, until his name became like a third set of keys on the counter. One night over dinner, she smiled at her phone and let out a small laugh. Not a polite laugh. A real one. The kind I hadn't gotten from her in weeks. "Derek?" I asked. She looked up. "What?" "You smiled like that, so I'm guessing." She rolled her eyes. "He sent something stupid." "Derek seems to know a lot about what you find funny lately." Her face changed. Not guilty. Irritated. "Can we not do this?" she said. "Do what?" "This little wounded routine where I have to defend having normal work friends." I looked down at my plate. Chicken, rice, and green beans were going cold because my chest had tightened. "I'm not asking you to defend breathing, Lauren. I'm asking why one guy keeps showing up in every story." She gave me that soft, disappointed voice she had started using when she wanted me to feel smaller. "I miss when you were secure." I backed off again. That became the rhythm for months. I would ask a reasonable question. Lauren would turn the question into the problem. I would apologize for the tone she assigned to me, and she would accept the apology like she was doing something generous. The money started getting weird too, but in a way that was easy to dismiss. Groceries really had gotten expensive. Utilities were high. The house always needed something. A little extra out of the joint account here, a shared credit card charge there. Nothing big enough to be an immediate red flag. Just enough that I would look at the statement and think, that seems high, then get pulled into another bill, another errand, another ordinary distraction. Once, I asked why the joint account was lower than expected. Lauren sighed. Have you bought groceries lately? I'm not accusing you. You always say that right before you accuse me. So I dropped it. I hated how often I dropped things. My best friend Nolan was the first person I said it out loud to. I called him from the car one evening after sitting in the driveway for 10 minutes, looking at the porch light I had left on for Lauren even though she was supposedly on another late client call. I think something's wrong, I told him. With Lauren? Yeah. He didn't rush in with outrage, which is why I called him. Nolan is blunt, not dramatic. What do you know? He asked. I know she's secretive with her phone. I know Derek's name comes up too much. I know she keeps saying I'm paranoid before I even finish a sentence. That's not nothing, he said. But your gut can be right and still not be evidence. Don't confuse the two. I don't want to be that guy. What guy? The guy checking everything. The jealous husband. Then don't be sloppy, Nolan said. Don't rage, don't accuse without a record, and don't give her a recording of you losing it. At the time, I thought he was being too cautious. Later, I realized he had saved me from handing Lauren the exact weapon she wanted. The night Derek's text showed up was ordinary in the cruelest way. Lauren had asked if we could have one normal night. I made pasta because it was easy and she liked the sauce with extra garlic. We ate mostly in silence, but not a hostile silence. More like two people waiting for someone else to start a safer conversation. After dinner, I was rinsing plates at the sink while Lauren poured herself a glass of wine at the kitchen island. Her phone was on the counter, face up for once, probably because she had gotten comfortable. The screen lit up. Derek, still telling Cooper the client call ran late? There are moments your body understands before your brain catches up. The water was still running over the plate in my hand. Lauren saw my eyes move. Then she saw the screen. For half a second, she froze. Then she laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an oh no laugh. A quick, bright, dismissive laugh. Like I had caught the end of a joke that wasn't meant for me, and she was embarrassed on my behalf for not getting it. Oh my God, Cooper, she said. It's an office joke. I turned off the water. That's not a meme. You're making it weird because you want it to be weird. I dried my hands slowly because I could feel my pulse pounding in my wrists. Does everyone joke about lying to their spouse, or just you two? She picked up the phone and slipped it into her back pocket. Derek talks like that with everyone. With everyone's husband's name? Her mouth tightened. You are embarrassing me in my own kitchen. That line did something important for me. Not because it hurt the most, but because it clarified the room. She wasn't scared I saw the message. She wasn't trying to explain it like a person terrified of being misunderstood. She was annoyed that I was not accepting her explanation fast enough. You're creating drama out of nothing, she said. This is why I don't tell you things. You make me feel like I have to defend breathing. I looked at her for a long moment. Same kitchen, same cabinets, same little coffee stain near the machine from that morning. Same woman I had married, staring at me like I was a bad audience for her performance. Then I said, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Her shoulders dropped. Just a little. Relief moved across her face before she covered it. Thank you, she said, like I had finally become reasonable. That was the first lie I told her back. I didn't sleep much that night. Lauren did. She curled away from me, phone under her pillow like a teenager, and breathed evenly while I stared at the ceiling. By morning, I knew two things. I was not going to ask for her phone, and I was not going to argue about Derek again until I knew exactly what I was looking at. Over the next 3 days, I acted normal. I made coffee. I set out the oat creamer. I answered when she asked whether we had stamps. I left the porch light on when she said another client call might run late. I did not ask about Derek. I did not ask why her jacket came home smelling faintly of men's cologne under her perfume, like she had tried to bury one scent beneath another. Lauren relaxed. That was another answer. See, she said on the second night, kissing my cheek as she dropped her keys in the bowl by the door. This is better when you don't overthink. Yeah, I said. Much clearer. I started with things I already had legal access to, joint bank statements, shared credit card history, credit card alerts from accounts I paid, and home security footage from the camera over our garage, the one we had installed together after a package was stolen. I focused on confirmation emails connected to household accounts, not her private email. I didn't need her phone. She had left the lie all over the accounts we both used. On its own, one charge looked harmless. A rideshare for $28. A restaurant bar tab for $63. Downtown parking for $18. A hotel bar charge for $41. Valet parking. Another rideshare. A late-night coffee place nowhere near her office. They were small enough to disappear into the background. Small enough that when I saw the monthly total, it just looked like life had gotten expensive. Then I lined them up with her texts. Lauren, client thing. Don't wait up. Same night. Rideshare at 8:14 p.m. Hotel bar at 9:02 p.m. Rideshare home at 12:38 a.m. Lauren, emergency call. I'll sleep in tomorrow. Same night. Restaurant charge at 7:47 p.m. Downtown parking at 8:03 p.m. Bar charge after 10. Lauren, Brooke from my team may need help with a presentation. Same night. Security footage showing Lauren leaving the house in heels at 9:26 p.m., even though she had told me she was exhausted and going to sleep early. She came back at 1:11 a.m., carrying her shoes in one hand. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, the house quiet around me, and felt something colder than anger settle in. She had made me feel guilty for questioning the money she was using to lie to me. The next alert came on the third night. A hotel bar charge, again, from a card tied to my account where Lauren was an authorized user. I stared at the notification on my phone while I stood in the laundry room holding a damp towel. A few hours later, Lauren came home flushed and bright-eyed, complaining about client revisions with a level of detail that felt rehearsed. She took off her jacket and draped it over a chair. Cologne again. You okay? She asked. Long day, I said. Same. She fell asleep on the couch around midnight with the TV still playing a show we used to watch together. The streaming account recommended the next episode like it didn't know the people watching it had changed. Her phone was on the coffee table, face up. The screen lit up. Derek, the sponsor asked about tonight yet? I didn't touch her phone. I didn't unlock it. I didn't scroll. I took a photo of the lock screen with my own phone because it was sitting openly in front of me in my own living room. That one did not hurt like a clue. It hurt like a verdict. The next morning, I called Nolan from the grocery store parking lot because I didn't trust myself to call from the house. I have more, I said. How much more? Charges. Camera timestamps. Another text preview. He called me the sponsor. Nolan was silent for a second. Do not text Derek. I wasn't going to. You are exactly the kind of man who says that right before sending something surgical and stupid. I almost laughed. Almost. What do I do? I asked. You get legal advice before you move money. You get your documents. You don't threaten. You don't warn. You build a clean record. I want to take the car. Is it yours? Titled to me. I make the payments. She drives it. Then ask a lawyer before you do anything. Not because she deserves grace, but because you deserve not to get trapped by one satisfying morning. He was right. I called my sister Brooke next. She is 42, and she has known me long enough to tell when I am too calm. I went to her place that afternoon while Lauren thought I was running errands. Brooke made coffee and watched me sit at her kitchen table with both hands around the mug like I was trying to warm up from the inside. I told her enough. Not every detail. Just the text, the charges, the sponsor message. Brooke's face hardened in a way I hadn't seen since we were kids, and someone had made fun of me at a family barbecue. Cooper, she said, calm is not weakness. But don't use calm as an excuse to stay where you're being disrespected. I keep thinking I should have pushed harder months ago. Maybe, she said. But do not confuse being fair with volunteering to be lied to. I don't want to blow up my own life. Then don't, she said. Remove yourself from the explosion she already started. Brooke gave me a spare key to her place and told me I could leave documents there if I needed to. She did not tell me to scream. She did not tell me to post anything. She said, you don't have to make a scene to be done. That became the sentence I repeated to myself. The attorney's name was Audrey. She was recommended through someone Nolan knew. I met her with a folder that felt ridiculous in my hands because part of me still expected someone to say I was overreacting. Audrey did not. She spread the papers across her desk, asked specific questions, and took notes without making faces. Let's separate feelings from actions, she said. Protecting yourself is not the same as punishing her. But if you punish her in a way that puts you at legal risk, you have helped her. I don't want to do anything illegal. Good. Then don't touch money you are not entitled to move. Keep essential shared obligations paid. Separate what is yours. Communicate in writing. We went through the accounts. The joint account had to remain funded for bills already due. The mortgage payment, utilities, insurance, anything that could be twisted into abandonment or financial sabotage. Going forward, my income would go into a separate account. A credit card solely in my name, where Lauren was only an authorized user, could be locked down. Charges already made would be documented. Future personal spending through my credit lines did not have to continue. Then the car. Audrey reviewed the title and payment records. The car Lauren drove was titled solely to me. I had bought it after her old car died, and we never transferred anything because at the time it seemed like one of those harmless marriage details. I made the payments. The insurance was paid through my account. If you recover it, do it cleanly, Audrey said. No confrontation, no threats, no drama. Document the title, the keys, the location, and the condition. Be prepared for her to say you stranded her. Do not do it in a way that prevents her from getting necessary medication, medical care, or anything urgent. She has rideshare apps, friends, her own credit union account, and her workplace is reachable without that car, I said. Then keep the facts boring, Audrey said. Boring facts are useful. I almost smiled at that. Boring facts sounded like the opposite of what Lauren had counted on from me. She wanted me emotional, jealous, and loud enough to make the original issue disappear behind my reaction. Audrey also told me something I didn't like, but needed to hear. You cannot control who believes her, she said. You can control what records exist when she lies. By the time I left her office, I had a plan that did not require yelling. I opened a separate account for my income. I left enough in the joint account to cover bills already scheduled and printed the confirmations. I removed Lauren's authorized user access from the credit card in my name. I did not touch her separate bank account. I did not cancel anything tied only to her. I canceled the anniversary getaway I had booked and paid for entirely from my card months before, back when I still thought maybe a long weekend could reset us. The cancellation email felt like closing a door I had been holding open with my shoulder. I packed an overnight bag with clothes, chargers, my passport, tax papers, insurance documents, a few photos I wanted, and the watch my father had given me. I moved them to Brooks' place while Lauren was at another client dinner. Every quiet step felt less like revenge and more like getting oxygen back. The car retrieval was arranged for a morning when Lauren had no early appointment listed on our shared calendar and when I knew she had access to other transportation. I used the spare key from my drawer. I took photos of the car in the garage, the mileage, and the title documents. Then I drove it to a secure lot near Brooks' place and notified the insurance company about the change in primary driver status. I went back to the house before Lauren woke up and left a folder on the kitchen counter. Inside were copies of the title information, the account separation confirmation, the mortgage payment confirmation, the canceled trip notice, and a short note. You told me it was a joke. I decided not to be the punchline. I did not wait in the kitchen for applause. I took my overnight bag, locked the door, and left. Lauren called at 7:18 a.m. I know the exact time because I was sitting in Brooks' driveway with a coffee I had not touched, watching her name light up my phone. Then again at 7:19. Then 7:21. Then the text started. Lauren, where's my car? Lauren, Cooper, answer me right now. Lauren, this is insane. Lauren, my card got declined. What did you do? Lauren, you can't just take my car. Lauren, you're trying to ruin my life because of your insecurity. I let the phone sit until the buzzing stopped for more than 5 minutes. Then I answered once in writing, exactly the way Audrey told me to. Me, the car is titled to me. Essential shared bills are covered. Your personal spending through my accounts is over. Future communication about finances and property should be in writing. She called immediately. I did not answer. Lauren, are you serious? After 9 years, you send me customer service language? Me, I'm not arguing by phone. Lauren, you financially abused me because of an office joke. Me, no. I stopped paying for personal charges tied to nights you lied about. There was a long pause before her next message. Lauren, you went through my private life. I stared at that one for a while. I could almost hear her voice, wounded and righteous, trying to drag me back into defending the method instead of discussing the facts. Me, you brought him into our marriage and paid for it with our money. That stopped being private. She did not respond for almost an hour. Then she showed up at Brooks. I was in the driveway with Brooks' trash bin, of all things, when Lauren's rideshare pulled up. She got out wearing the same coat she had worn the night before, her hair pulled back haphazardly, as if in anger. Her eyes were red, but her chin was up. "You're hiding at your sister's now?" she said. Brooke opened her front door behind me, but stayed inside. She knew better than to turn it into a crowd. "I'm not hiding," I said. "You took my car. I recovered my car." She laughed once, sharp and ugly. "Listen to yourself. I have been." That landed. I saw it. Lauren stepped closer. "Put everything back. We can talk like adults." "No." Her eyes widened like she had expected resistance, but not refusal. "No," she repeated. "No, Lauren. I stopped financing the version of your life where I'm the idiot." Her face flushed. "You're making this uglier than it had to be. You did that when you laughed at that text. It was a joke." "Then Derek is bad at jokes." She looked away. I said, "How many client calls were hotel bars?" Her mouth opened, closed, then twisted. "You were cold, Cooper. For months. You made me feel alone in my own marriage. I'm not saying I was perfect. You shut down all the time." "I did. And you could have asked for counseling. You could have separated. You could have told me you were done. You chose a routine." Her eyes filled. The tears came fast now, because anger had not worked. "I made one mistake," she said. "A mistake is one lie. This had a schedule, a payment trail, and nicknames." Her expression changed. That was how I knew the nicknames mattered. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but the sentence came out too quickly. "The sponsor," I said. For the first time that morning, she looked scared. "Cooper." "No, not here. You don't understand what I was going through." "You're right," I said. "I don't understand laughing about me paying for it." She wiped her face with the heel of her hand and looked toward Brooke's door. "So what? Your sister knows now? You're humiliating me." I almost said, "You humiliated yourself," but I stopped. That was the kind of line that felt good but did nothing useful. "I told Brooke enough to explain why I'm here," I said. "I'm not blasting your life. But I'm not protecting your lie if you start using it against me." Her face hardened again. "So that's a threat. That's a boundary." Lauren left after 20 minutes of circling the same arguments. She went from, "You're controlling," to "You abandoned me," to "We can fix this," to "You never loved me enough to fight." I let each one pass without grabbing it. When the rideshare pulled away, Brooke came outside and handed me the coffee I had left in her kitchen. "You okay?" she asked. "No." Good answer. That made me laugh for the first time in days, but it was not a happy laugh. It was a pressure valve. I thought the worst part was over. It wasn't. Lauren did exactly what Audrey warned me she might do. She started telling the story first. Not in a big public post. Lauren was smarter than that. She used small circles. Tessa, a close friend in our shared group, 2 relatives, a couple we used to have dinner with. She cried in private messages and left out just enough that the shape of the story became clear without her having to say everything. Cooper saw a coworker joke and lost it. Cooper cut off my card. Cooper took the car I drive. Cooper is punishing me because he's insecure. Cooper has been controlling for months. Tessa called me that Thursday evening. I knew from her voice that she had already decided what kind of man I was going to be in the conversation. "Cooper," she said, "even if you're hurt, cutting her off like that is scary." I was standing in Brooke's guest room, folding shirts into a laundry basket. "Did Lauren tell you what the charges were for?" "She said you're obsessing over normal spending. Ask her what the hotel bar charges were for." Tessa hesitated. "I'm not trying to get in the middle. You called me." "That's fair," she said, softer. "But taking the car? It's titled to me. I pay for it. She has access to transportation. Essential shared bills are paid. Still, it sounds controlling." I closed my eyes. There it was again, the word that had trained me to shut up for months. "Tessa, I'm going to send you one email because Lauren brought you into this. I'm not going to debate it on the phone. Cooper, I'm asking not to be lied about." I sent the email that night to the small number of people who had contacted me with accusations. Not a social media post. Not a rant. Not a "look what she did" blast. A clean timeline. The subject line was simple: timeline and financial clarification. I wrote, "Lauren has described this as me abandoning her and cutting her off without reason. Here is the timeline of what actually happened. I am not asking anyone to take sides. I am asking not to be lied about." Then I listed dates. The night Derek's lock screen message appeared, still telling Cooper the client call ran late. Lauren's explanation, office joke. The charges tied to prior late-night client calls, rideshare, restaurant, parking, hotel bar. The security camera timestamps showing Lauren leaving after telling me she was going to sleep. The second lock screen preview. The sponsor asked about tonight yet? The account changes. My income redirected. Essential shared bills paid. Authorized user access removed from a card solely in my name. The car, title in my name, payments from my account, recovered without confrontation. The anniversary trip, paid by me, canceled by me before use. I attached screenshots with dates and account numbers partially redacted. I included the mortgage payment confirmation because I knew he abandoned the house bills, would be the next lie. I did not include anything intimate. I did not call her names. I did not tell people to hate Derek. I kept it boring. Audrey reviewed the wording before I sent it. Her only comment was, "Good. You sound like someone documenting reality, not auditioning for sympathy." The replies were uneven. One relative sent, "I'm sorry. I did not know any of this." Another sent nothing but stopped texting me. Tessa did not respond for almost a full day. Then she sent one line to a small group chat Lauren had apparently been using for support. "Tessa, Lauren, is any of this fake?" Lauren did not answer the question. She called me instead. I did not pick up. Her texts came in bursts. "Lauren, you had no right to send that. Lauren, those were private details. Lauren, you made me look disgusting. Lauren, everyone thinks I'm some monster now." I answered once. "Me. I sent it only to people you brought into the story. It stopped being private when you used them to call me controlling." She sent a long paragraph after that about loneliness, about how I had made her feel invisible, about how Derek listened when I didn't, about how I had never understood what she needed emotionally. I read it twice, not because it convinced me, but because part of me still wanted the woman I married to be somewhere inside the mess. Then I saw the sentence that told me she still did not understand. "Lauren, you cared more about being right than saving us." I did not respond. Derek did, though. Not to Lauren. To me. His text came from a number I did not have saved, but I knew it was him because he introduced himself like a man walking into a room he had already been in for months. "Derek, this is Derek. Man, leave me out of this." I looked at the message for a while. There were a lot of things I could have said. I could have asked him whether he enjoyed calling me the sponsor. I could have told him to explain the client call joke. I could have called him every name I had been saving. Instead, I wrote, "Me, you walked in. I just stopped holding the door open. Derek, I don't want problems. Me, then you should have avoided married women and shared credit cards." He did not answer. Later, I heard from Tessa that Derek had backed away from Lauren almost immediately once the timeline reached people outside their little bubble. Not because he grew a conscience, but because he had his own image to protect. Apparently, he told Lauren, "I never asked you to blow up your marriage." That line reached me through two people, and even if it had been paraphrased, it sounded like him. Cocky when I was the only person being humiliated. Careful when his own comfort got attached. Lauren had thought Derek was the exit ramp. He was only the detour. The fallout was not dramatic in a movie way. Nobody lost a mansion. Nobody got arrested. There was no courtroom scene where a judge slammed a gavel and declared me morally superior. Real consequences were quieter and more annoying, which made them harder for Lauren to perform around. She had to arrange her own transportation. She had to use her own credit. She had to explain to people why the controlling husband had receipts showing essential bills paid and personal spending stopped only on accounts in his name. She had to sit with the fact that Derek did not show up to rescue her from the damage they created together. Our shared social circle split the way these things usually split. Some people stayed out of it. Some believed Lauren until the evidence made that uncomfortable. Some decided both of us were messy, which was easier than admitting they had judged too early. I stopped chasing any of them. Tessa sent me an email 9 days after the timeline. "Cooper, I reacted to the version she gave me. I'm sorry. I should not have called you controlling without knowing what happened." I wrote back, "I appreciate that. I'm keeping my distance from the group for now." She said she understood. Maybe she did. Maybe she just wanted to feel less guilty. Either way, I accepted the apology without reopening the door. Audrey filed for legal separation first, then moved the process forward when it became obvious there was nothing to repair. All communication about property, bills, and paperwork went through email or through Audrey. Lauren hated that. She wanted phone calls because phone calls are where tone can be invented later. In writing, she had less room. Lauren, you're being cold. Me, I'm keeping communication clear. Lauren, we were married 9 years. I deserve a conversation. Me, we can discuss logistics in writing. Lauren, you can't just erase me. I stared at that one longer than I should have, because that was never what I had wanted. I had wanted the opposite. I had wanted to understand where my wife had gone before she turned our marriage into something I had to investigate. But I had learned the difference between wanting an answer and walking back into a room where every answer would be used to confuse me. The house became the hardest part, not because of the mortgage paperwork or the settlement discussions, although those were miserable in their own boring way. It was the small stuff. The oat creamer in the fridge, bought the week before everything broke open. The 2 mugs in the cabinet that matched because Lauren once insisted mismatched mugs made coffee taste emotionally chaotic. The shared streaming account still recommending the show we never finished. The porch light. For years, that light meant someone was coming home to me. After I left, I realized how many nights I had been using it to convince myself I was still waiting for my wife and not for the truth. Brooke helped me pack the last of my personal things from the house a few weeks after the separation paperwork went out. Lauren wasn't there. Audrey had arranged a window for me to collect what was mine. I took clothes, books, a toolbox, a framed photo from a trip before things got bad, and the coffee grinder I had bought before we were married. Brooke held up one of the matching mugs. You want this? I looked at it. White ceramic. A tiny chip near the handle from when Lauren dropped it into the sink and declared it still emotionally available. No, I said. Brooke put it back. In the bedroom closet, I found a scarf I had given Lauren 3 Christmases earlier. I stood there with it in my hand, and for one stupid second, I remembered her wrapping it around her neck, smiling, and saying, "You actually noticed what color I wear." I put it down. Brooke didn't rush me. When we loaded the final boxes into her car, Nolan called. "How bad is it?" he asked. "I'm not throwing anything," I said. "Progress." I thought I'd be angrier. "You sound angry." "Not like I expected." Nolan was quiet for a moment. "Maybe because you're not giving her your reaction to use as the story anymore." That stuck with me. For months, Lauren had trained me to fear my own response. If I asked, I was insecure. If I noticed, I was paranoid. If I got quiet, I was cold. If I got hurt, I was dramatic. Every path led back to me being the problem. So I stopped giving her a performance to grade. That did not mean I was peaceful. I was furious in the grocery store when I saw the oat creamer. I was furious when a credit card statement reminded me of a night I had left dinner in the fridge while she sat at a hotel bar. I was furious when I woke up at 2 a.m. reaching across the bed out of habit and touched nothing. But I learned anger did not have to become a weapon in Lauren's hand. It could stay mine. It could tell me where to draw the boundary. Lauren's last real attempt to pull me back came 2 months into the process. She asked through Audrey for a face-to-face conversation for closure. Audrey forwarded the request with no pressure, just a note, "Your choice. I recommend a written agenda if you agree." I said no. Lauren sent an email directly anyway. I forwarded it to Audrey without answering, but I read it. She wrote about the good years. Lazy breakfasts. The trip where it rained every day and we still had fun. The way I used to brush snow off her windshield. The inside jokes. The first apartment. The time she was sick and I slept on the floor next to the couch because she didn't want to be alone. Then she wrote, "I lost myself. I made one mistake and you turned it into a campaign against me." For a few minutes, I wanted to answer as the husband who remembered all those things. I wanted to say, "How could you?" I wanted to ask when she stopped seeing me as a person. I wanted her to admit the exact weight of what she had done. But wanting that was another trap. Because Lauren did not need understanding. She needed the word mistake to cover a calendar. Audrey responded for me. "Lauren, Cooper will not meet privately. He does not agree with your description. The affair was not a single mistake. It involved repeated deception, shared financial charges, and communications mocking him. Future communication should remain limited to legal and logistical matters." Lauren replied to Audrey, "Not me." "Lauren, he's punishing me." Audrey sent back one sentence. "Audrey, boundaries are not punishment." I printed that email and kept it in my folder. Not because it was dramatic, because it was true. The separation moved forward. There were negotiations. There were forms. There were tense emails about household items that neither of us cared about until they became symbols. I lost money because divorce and separation do that, even when you are right. I paid fees I hated. I signed documents that made my hand shake more than I expected. But the exit became real. Eventually, the settlement was signed. The car remained mine. Lauren kept what was hers. Shared obligations were divided and closed out. The house was handled through attorneys, not emotional phone calls. I did not get everything I wanted, but I got the thing I needed, a clean break from a life where my patience had been treated as permission. On the day Audrey sent the final confirmation, she wrote, "It's done." I sat with that email open for a long time. I expected victory to feel louder. It didn't. It felt like sitting in a room after a machine shuts off and realizing how long the noise had been there. A few weeks later, Lauren sent one final message through the proper channel. She said she hoped someday I would remember that she was more than the worst thing she did. I believe that. I still do. Lauren was more than the worst thing she did. She was also the person who chose it, repeated it, laughed when I saw it, spent our money on it, and let another man call me the sponsor. People are allowed to be complicated. They are not allowed to use complexity as a receipt for cruelty. I did not reply. My routine changed slowly. Coffee for one was strange at first. I still bought oat creamer once by accident, out of muscle memory, and stood in the aisle holding it like an idiot before putting it back. I stopped leaving the porch light on unless I needed it. I changed the streaming password and deleted the shared profile that kept suggesting shows we would never finish. Brooke checked on me without hovering. Nolan kept inviting me to things, even when I said no. I started sleeping through the night more often than not. The strangest part was how quiet my life became once I stopped listening for lies. I don't need Lauren ruined. I don't need Derek exposed to everyone he has ever met. I don't need Tessa or the others to sit in a circle and admit they should have believed me sooner. That would still make my healing dependent on the same audience that misunderstood me in the first place. What I needed was to stop paying for the lie, stop apologizing for noticing it, and stop letting Lauren define my reaction as the real betrayal. She laughed when I saw Derek's message because she thought I was too afraid to believe my own eyes. I wasn't afraid. I was just done warning her. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.